Facebook Live Friday is about, I should stop saying that actually. This Live Friday is about how are we going to get through the Oholidays this year? So many of you know that this last year, because literally hundreds of you took this course, I did this course called the Empathic Soul and Love Rebel. And one of my bigger breakthroughs, I think, in my work this last year was me really realizing that many of you who follow my work or engaged in my work are what I would call empathic souls. And that just means that you're wired on a soul level differently than others are. And I'm using language here that's really gonna always fall short in mystical territory. But what it means to be an empathic soul is that you're more sensitive. You pick up on energies and dimensions and people and thought forms, and you can actually, because your bandwidth is so large, you can pick up on this stuff without even trying. You've been doing it your whole entire life. Hence why I say that you're an empathic soul. You're actually at a soul level wired differently. And I did this masterclass, this massive masterclass this year, which, by the way, is 40% off on my website right now and will only be available till the end of the year. So if you want to go check it out, do that. And I'll talk a little bit maybe about that later. But my whole point of bringing this all up is that this year for the Oholidays, every year I offer some sort of advice, help, strategies, tips on how to get through this time of year, the Oholiday season, which is a time of the year where we're triggered, we're more sensitive. Maybe, if we mostly live alone, especially with the pandemic, COVID-19 this year, we realize how lonely we might feel. This can be a really, really rough time of the year, whether you're with people or not. I mean, if you're with people, then a lot of times we're back in our family crazy and we're dealing with, old patterns and old roles and family systems, and we're getting triggered. It can be hard, and for me, I'm someone who has come from a very dysfunctional family, but we're very functional now. We did a lot of work on our family system, and we all love each other deeply. And so I don't really have the issue of family members drive me crazy. But what I do have, and maybe this is you, is I'm so busy during this time of year. I'm usually teaching, like I am right now, a masterclass. I'm actually teaching the Empathic Soul and Love Rebel 2.0. It's the part 2 to the 8-part 25-hour masterclass I did this summer. So I'm in the midst of that. I have a membership site that many of you are probably part of, where I'm teaching modules in there. I'm busy. And then, I'm promoting, the sale on my website and getting involved with letting you all know that, hey, everything's 40% off and all this kind of stuff. So for me, it's just this overwhelming sense of, oh my God, I'm doing 12, 14-hour days every day. And you get frazzled. And when we're frazzled and when we're tired and when we're exhausted and when we're lonely and when we're feeling just emotionally all over the place, like most of us do right now, our self-care takes a back seat, and our perfectionist takes the front seat, or our addict takes the front seat, or our codependent takes the front seat. This year, and I'm always offering medicine around this time, around how can you handle all of that and actually get self-care back in the driver's seat. How can you get your soul back in mission control here? So I'm going to offer you some tips on how to do that. And I want to, my whole point of bringing up the empathic soul level of this is that this year, I want you to consider that we're talking now as in this new umbrella of truth, that you just might be an empathic soul. You just might be wired in a certain way on a soul level to pick up on more than others do. It's just that simple. It doesn't make anyone less than or greater than, or even, you more or less of a victim in this life. It's just a truth that you happen to be possibly someone who is very sensitive, very capable of feeling fields of energy, the psyches of other people, the moods of other people, the energy of a room, and a lot of times, and here's what you got to know, is that we're not taught. I have a background in clinical psychology. I have an undergrad in psych. So I'm always referencing what I learned in college around psychological and if you will, clinical understandings of what makes us tick. And I can tell you from my studies and from my own background more clinically that there is nothing on offer for those of us who are multisensory based beings in terms of how to handle the stressors of the holiday season. When you are wired this way, it requires a multisensory psychology to navigate. And there's pieces of that exist, but there's not a lot on offer, really. It kind of like goes in a lot of different directions. You'll get into the more woo-woo stuff, which can be helpful, but oftentimes falls short. And then you get into the more coaching art stuff, which can be helpful, but oftentimes falls short, right? So what I'm going to try to do a little bit with you, today is hit that sweet spot of, hey, okay, let's get down to how can you manage your system during this time in a way that's going to help you stay sane, centered, and like I said, get the soul up in the driver's seat, not in the back seat. How can you do that? So I'm going to go through some strategies and some tips and kind of riff around a little bit here. And then if you have any questions, I can actually put your questions on screen. How cool is that? I think. I mean, this is new software, but it's supposed to do that. So I'm going to give it a shot. But yeah, how can you get through the holidays as an empathic soul, knowing that, this is just a facet of your nature? How are you going to get through this? And by the way, I really do want to encourage you to check out the Empathic Soul and Love Rebel Masterclass. It's only available till the end of the year, and then it won't be available again until summer of 2021. It's all on demand now. It's like hours of help waiting for you. It's an 8-part masterclass. I'm sure you're going to see comments from people that took it about how it blew them out of the water. It blew me out of the water to teach it. It was a seminal kind of coming together of many things that I had learned through my work as an intuitive, strategist, counselor, et cetera. And also, yes, recruiting in the part of me that does understand human psychology and bringing it all together in this incredible new paradigm. And it really is, I would have to say, my whole aim with that course was to create a multisensory psychology for you as an empathic soul to negotiate and navigate this life in a way that I could go on and on about. Just go read the description of the course seriously. And if it speaks to you, definitely give it some thought. 40% off right now for the Oholidays. And if you took 1.0, 2.0, we're on part 3 coming up here actually this Sunday. So get in. That's also 40% off. Okay, so what are we dealing with during the Oholidays season? We're dealing with triggering. We're dealing with perhaps feelings of loneliness, feeling overwhelmed, exhaustion. I think I'm naming my day every day lately. We're dealing with stress and, yes, reactivation of old roles with family, perhaps. Now, look at 2020. I mean, we've got this is a normal Oholiday season I'm talking about. Now add on a pandemic, a psychic field that is like walking around in landmines when it comes to the political tensions and pressures and psychic viruses that are everywhere, and the polarization in people, the activation this particular year, especially of, let's say, hate and division in the psychic field of life. It's full on this year, right? It's full on. And for many of us, and this is certainly true for me, our normal things that we could access during this kind of time of year aren't available. I'm an athletic kind of guy. So, my resource to kind of handle this time of year would be the gym. And I can't exactly do that, because of COVID-19. So we've got a lot of things boxing us into our homes. I mean, I don't think I've really left my house but 3 times the last 4 months. So this is where we are. Get a intuitive GPS with yourself. Where are you? And here's the first step in negotiating and navigating these times as an empathic soul during the Oholiday season. You've got to slow your system down. So Even though you might be in a slower life, maybe you're staying more at home or you're not really out there and about like you would normally be rushing around shopping or whatever it is during this time of year, I still would say that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how your system is sped up. And you could be at home and have it sped up. You could be sped up in your head worrying, or sped up in your emotional system, feeling lots of dark emotions. So the first step of negotiating this time of year is slowing your system down. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do that, and you might have a particular way that works for you. I think breath work is really good. I think this is what I like to do, because I find that most people are going to go to extremes. They go, so in this culture, right, when we want to lose weight, we then fast for a week instead of gradually, slowly, but surely changing our diet, changing our exercise habits. We just completely cut stuff out in these extremes. What I would offer is go slow, but start with this. Hey, you know what? For 5 minutes a day, I'm going to tune into myself and I'm going to feel whatever's going on with my system. That's it. And I'm not saying that when you do this, you're on some witch hunt of something, looking for something to fix. No, I'm saying you slow down and you just feel whatever's happening. You witness, you observe. What's my system doing right now? I find the best anchor for that kind of slowing down is the breath. So I'm challenging you during this time to commit to 5 minutes a day. And if you start to feel like you're getting sped up ahead of your day, and next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going off the rails, hear me in your head saying, look, 5 minutes right now. You have 5 minutes right now. You can't tell me you don't. Don't make me read you, because I will. You got 5 minutes. Take that 5 minutes and go, look, I just need 5. And it might feel weird, because I think the instinct, oddly, when we're sped up, is to speed more. Somehow we feel like if I speed up more, it'll help. And usually, actually not. It just helps you crash into the wall or crash into that pint of ice cream. So slow yourself down. 5 minutes will go a long way. And then what I find happens for me is that 5 minutes turns into 10 on its own. It's not like I effort 10 minutes of slowing down. It's just that 5 minutes felt so good, I need 5 more. And I literally did this last night. I'm all sped up. I'm going through all the things I got to do. And I decided I was going to take actually a 30-minute break that turned into an hour, just because it felt good. And I was like, I'm slowed down now, finally. So one of the keys is understanding your speed. Slow down during this time. Start with a 5-minute commitment. And if you can only do that through the whole entire holiday season, I think you're going to be just fine. Just 5 minutes. And checking in. And what I mean by checking in, you're just bringing presence to your system and yourself. I don't mean let me do a deep inventory of my interior. No, I'm saying just be with yourself for 5 minutes. Give yourself presence. You'll probably get some instruction during that 5 minutes of something you need for your self-care. Great. But I'm not saying go in for 5 minutes and effort anything. Just show up and be attentive to what your system's doing. Watch yourself. Now, that can be very helpful. Now, as you get into the speed of things as well, I have another tip. This is actually one of my favorite holiday tips. We're so perfectionist in this culture, and we live in these platitudes and these mantras of give 110%, give 150%, for success, or to live out your full potential or your highest potential. I'm sure you've said this to yourself, or maybe this is a mantra you tell yourself often. Well, I'm going to offer you something different. Try it out. See how it works for you. I call this the 75% formula. So from now on, through the whole entire holidays, holidays, you're going to tell yourself, you know what? All I got to do today is 75%. Not 100%, not 110%, 75. So as you get up with your day, go, what would 75% look like today? That's all I'm required to do. 75%. Now, this is going to sort of grate against certainly all the coaching out there that's telling you to go and get it and make it happen and be disciplined and commit and blah, 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 which has its place. But what I found is that what we do is we jack this up with our shame and our perfectionism so much that we become less efficient, less capable of really fulfilling even 100%, let alone 150. So I want you to take the pressure off yourself. So this is what it looks like. Oh, I got to do my online shopping. I got to get all these. Oh, you know what? Whoa. I'm just doing 75% today. That's it. But here's my to-do list. Okay, just 75% today. And what this will do, I'm going to front load you a little bit here, is it's going to let your system chill the F out. You're going to be able to go, okay, just 75%. That's all I need to do. And what I find happens for me when I take that pressure off of myself is I actually can do 100%, but it's not efforted. And I do it from a different energy reserve. One that's not perfectionist and driven by this urgency, but rather relaxed. And then I find like what I'm doing, I'm just more present to. So drop it down to 50% if you want, play with this percentile. Like, hey, this percentage. Hey, I'm just going to do 50% today. That's it. When you feel your system amping up into, you know what I'm talking about, that stressed, taut, tense place of, I got to get this and this and this and this done. You're going to hear me in your head now going, it's holiday time. 50 to 75% today. That's it. Did you do that? Then you're done. And then if you get to, 75%, you're like, I got 25% left I can do. Okay, well, then do it. This is about really watching what your system does, taking the reins of your system back and saying, I'm not operating on this perfectionist, hyper, holiday driven, I got to do 110% and live in that tension driven urgency. No, I'm going to do what I can. This is one of my favorite tools. So as you start to amp up, I got to wrap all these presents, or I got to get these things shipped and mailed. I got to go and do all this online shopping. I got to take a minute and go, wait, no, I don't. I already did 75%. I'm done. Take it. And then you might bounce back and go, oh, wait, I still got some more to give. I got this. Well, then great. Then you're moving from a different place of power, self-connection, and ease. So take my 75% rule to the streets of your life for this whole holiday season. Now, how do you resist falling into old roles with family members, and how do you handle triggering? Okay, my dear empathic souls, how do you handle it? Because even if you're not seeing your family members, you don't need to see family members to fall into an old role. You don't need to visit for Christmas to fall into an old role or get triggered. It's one phone call away. It's one text away. I mean, come on. What's a good way to handle this? Well, obviously, let me just say, there can be bigger fish to fry, if you will, in here. Meaning there might be deeper work you're going to over time need to do to neutralize triggers, to know how to handle them better. So I just want to put that out there, that there is a place where, there's deep inner work and deep processing and deep neutralizing of triggers, and that matters. And I want to make sure that you're aware, I don't want to skim over this superficially, but we're in triage here. We're empathic soul holiday triage. How can you handle, some of the triggers that are going to be coming at you? Once again, slow your system down. If someone triggers you, I want your first response to be a pause. I'm taking a pause, taking a break, I'm pulling back. I call this, this sort of stuff shadow dancing. When you've got someone that has established with you an archetypal dynamic in which their their ways of relating to you are architected around a certain role you play to them and that they play to you. It's magnetized this way. So maybe you're the shadow rescuer or the people pleaser, and they're the person that can trigger your people pleaser to come online and then do their bidding. Or maybe they bully you, or maybe you have a family member or someone in your life who just expects you to be their parent all the time and take responsibility for them all the time. Or maybe you play the scapegoat to someone. They put all their shadow on you and blame and project away things onto you. And then you become this recipient of really their unclaimed, unresolved, unintegrated crap. Whatever it is, you're going to have, we all do, various family, especially family, but friends, maybe colleague, bosses. We all have roles with each other. And those roles are actually also archetypal. So when you've got people coming at you during the holiday season, especially in family systems, take that pause first. And then I want you to get archetypal. I want you to name the roles. Oh, this is my mother's wicked queen coming at me. She doesn't want me to shine brighter than her. And so she's trying to dim me down right now. Name it. Name it to yourself. Call it out. Take that pause and get your archetypal footing. And then soul prayer it. All right. Wicked queen is in the house. The bully's coming at me. The scapegoating's begun. How do I want to relate to this? That's the next question you're going to ask yourself. How do I want to relate to what they're trying to do, to this invitation to shadow dance? How do I want to relate to this? Now, check out what you just gave yourself. You gave yourself choice. Now, as you ask, how do I want to relate to this? You're also going to remind yourself this mystical truth. You are already enough. So whatever your choices are from here in terms of how to relate to this invitation to shadow dance or this triggering or this attempt to disempower you, you're going to take the truth that, you know what, I'm already enough. So whatever choice I make in relationship to this little shadow dance invitation isn't about me getting to worthiness. It's already here, done. So if I'm enough, now what? Now what do I want to do? Now, I don't know if you can just feel the energetics that I just put out there for you. The space I just opened up. I'm enough, so now what do I want to do? Not only do you have conscious choice, but you've got empowered conscious choice. You could turn around to the bully and go, it just feels like you're trying to bully me. And I don't know why you would want to take power from me to make yourself feel better, but I'm just not interested. And I hope that you start to love yourself a little more. You could turn to the dynamic with your mother or father in terms of them trying to dim you down. Hey, it just seems like you're trying to put me down. Why would you want to do that? I really love you. I'd like to have a loving, engaging relationship with you, but that's not going to work if you're putting me down. So you can make a decision. That's what I'm sort of modeling for you. You can make a decision. I'm going to call out the power play. And I'm going to call it out from power. Now you got to be careful. I'm not saying be facetious in your tone or say anything. You might not want to say a damn thing. And just give them a hug and go, oh, you must be in pain because only people in pain treat people this way. So I'm going to just give you a hug. My whole point is this is where you begin to neutralize your own triggering, and this is where you begin to do some power pivots within your relationships. And I just want to position you, if nothing else, into the territory of having choice. Now, sometimes we get so triggered, we're so compelled, it's compulsive almost, that it feels like we just don't have choice. We want to react. We want to throw the next punch. We want to throw the next comment back at them. We want to get into that sort of shadow dance that's more like a breakdance battle, and we want to throw them a right hook. Just be okay with whatever's true in your experience. If that's what you're genuinely feeling, that's what you're feeling. But I'm going to also encourage you to realize that nothing real productive is going to come out of that right hook. So now what do you want to do? You're already enough. You don't need to go, make them right or wrong to get your value back. Your value is already here. What would you like to do? This is about getting to neutral territory. So sometimes to support getting to neutral territory, we have to just remove ourselves physically from situations. And I want to give you absolute, complete, full permission. If you happen to be engaging people in person, even during this pandemic, to leave the room, leave the house, go for a walk, get out of there. If you don't have the empowerment, you don't have the empowerment. If you don't have the neutrality, you don't have the neutrality. This counsel I'm offering isn't some exercise in perfectionism where somehow you show up, the spiritual warrior who can handle the blows and shadow dance with the best of them and, do the salsa right back. No, this is, look, these dynamics run so deep that when triggered online, I have absolutely no choice. So I got to get out of here. Get out of there. You don't have to stay. Take care of you. Because nothing probably very nourishing or productive is going to come from you staying there. If you're that triggered, if you're that outside of your center, get out of there. So I want to offer that because I think a lot of times we pressure ourselves to stay in discomfort and triggering situations to kind of, grit through it. There might be a time where that's useful, but I'm a fan of just being with what's really happening with your power. And if you don't have the power or the grace or the stamina or the resiliency to stay centered in context of someone who's really just triggered you, then I think you need other options like removing yourself from the situation. So keep that in mind. Now, you want to kind of have a sense of all the roles you play with people during the Oholidays in terms of what roles in your family system have momentum, what roles are very much likely to reactivate. And can you find some way of redirecting and rechanneling the dynamic? This is where I'm going to have to say one of the best aids in managing the Oholidays as empathic souls is your intuition. Having a lay of the land archetypally of your family systems and the roles you play is very useful. But you also have to realize that when you get into the mix, you got to respond in relationship to what's happening, not some formula. And that's, to me, what it means to be intuitive. To interact with people in an intuitive way means that you're with the truth of the situation, you're with the truth of your system and what it's doing, and you're responding from there, not what should be or what you should do. It's rather, no, this is just what's true. What's true right now is I need to get out of here and go for a walk. I'm about ready to knock my sister out. Throw mashed potatoes at him. I don't know. So, be with what's true. Give yourself permission to have your own experience. Now, other things to keep in mind during the Oholidays here. Obviously, I think this demands your own discretion as far as like who you engage with and how, especially in person, considering we are in a pandemic right now, which I think we all have to take in stride and keep in mind. I think because we are in this sort of situation where it's questionable in terms of whether we can meet people in person, travel for the holidays, etc., there's going to be a lot more, I think, guilt trips given and manipulations engaged to make people feel guilty or bad for what it is they feel they really need to do to take care of themselves. So just be on the lookout for that. That there might be a lot of things going around in the psychic field and in your family systems and with your friends around whether you can meet up with people for the holiday season, whether you can meet up, for meals or family gatherings. You've got to do what's right for you. You've got to take care of yourself. And I think this is where you're going to see, a little more extra kind of pulling those strings of control from people, because that's what it starts to come down to. How can I control you to make you feel bad? If you're trying to guilt someone or someone's trying to guilt you, and you got to watch your own shadow here. But if you're trying to guilt someone or someone's trying to guilt you, that's because you're trying to control them. So if you find yourself trying to, somehow your shadow gets the upper hand and starts doing this, love yourself no matter what. But take a minute, take a pause and take an inventory. Why are you trying to control them? What's that about? Why are they trying to control you? What's that about? Try this graceful practice, this holiday season. See what it's like to not make people wrong. We live in a culture now, oftentimes called cancel culture, where people are made wrong and it's as if their whole worth and worthiness is completely written off. You're canceled. Watch it. If we're going to walk the talk as spiritually mature adults of compassion, if we're going to walk the talk of compassion, well, it looks like not making people wrong. People aren't right or wrong. They're just messy human beings, trying to figure it out like the rest of us. So I think one of the things I would offer is a little medicine, a little grace to sprinkle on everything is how can I cultivate this practice of, people are complicated, messy. I'm complicated and messy. So is there usefulness in making someone wrong? And watch the tendency for how you do that to others. Because I think we all do this in our own way. We make others wrong in our own way, including ourselves, obviously. But also watch the tendency of others to do that to you. And remind yourself you're already enough. They're already enough too, by the way. There's no one who's right or wrong here. Now, are there optimal, connecting, nourishing choices and choices that disconnect and are damaging? Yeah. Are there behaviors and patterns and roles we can play with each other that hurt each other and cause damage? Of course. But at the end of the day, we all have soul esteem. At the end of the day, we're all enough. At the end of the day, every single person on this planet got their passport stamped to come to Earth School. So everyone has a right to be here. Everyone has a cosmic divine right to be here, might I add. That's hard to swallow, I know. Trust me with some of these people out there, but it's true. Give yourself that same affirmation as well as other people and try to steer yourself out of like someone's right, someone's wrong. We're way too complex for that. Many of you might know I have a membership on my website. It's called the Your Intuitive Edge Premium Membership. By the way, doors are open and you could join right now. They're only open twice a year, and you can join month to month or you can join for a year. So go check that out. But I did a module inside the membership exclusively on what I'm going to talk about next. Like I did I think 4 or 5 part module on this. One of the things that always comes up during the holidays is our dilemmas and challenges with power and powerlessness. Now, let me just say, one of the things that can clear up a lot of the crap we find ourselves mucked up with during the holidays is being clear on where we have power and where we do not. So during the holidays, to keep your empathic soul system and empathic senses clear, one of the things I think that can be incredibly useful to do is when you find yourself in any of the situations I've already mentioned, triggering with family members, archetypal roles, reanimating, even just, gosh, right now everyone is so triggerable in culture because we're all so freaked out by everything that's happening. I think it can be useful to realize that each of us is going to do something different with the reality of our powerlessness. I'm going to give you an example of what happened to me today, because I always put my own shit out there for consumption to teach from. So my dog's been sick lately, and I finally took him to the vet this morning. And because of COVID, and I wasn't informed about this, because of COVID, you can't go in with your pets anymore to the vet, right? You have to drop your pet off and they take the pet back. And my dog is, a senior dog, and I want to be with him. I want to be with him if he's going, and he's been having some challenges lately. And so I did not know that, because my assistant didn't tell me, that I couldn't go in with him. So I get up early this morning, I get ready to take him to the vet. And by the way, I wake up first. Let me just set the stage, because we got to add all the elements in so you can get the full picture here. I wake up to my cat having puked and shit everywhere in my house. True story. And so I'm dealing with that first before I can even go to the vet. Then I get to the vet and I can't go in with my dog. So I'm feeling myself get into that not very nice version of myself. So I'm standing there at the vet door and they're telling me I can't go in with my dog. And he's, by the way, I've just moved to a new town. This is the first time my dog's ever seeing the vet at all. And so I'm finding myself, that feeling, come on, that rush of pressured anger and, okay, I'm about ready to tell someone off, I'm about ready to cut somebody. Yeah, that started to come online. And I'm sitting there with my face mask on going, oh my God, don't say it, Ohotto, just no. So I felt powerless. I had a very powerless morning, from waking up to all the stuff I did with my cat and my dog, and then feeling like I couldn't be there for my dog, and they weren't budging, man. They were not, because I stood there in that doorway. I'm like, you think you ain't letting me in with my dog? Is that what you think? Oh, well. And they took my dog in and evaluated him, and he's on the mend, and we got it all figured out. And as I'm sitting outside, which is really good this is a good thing for me. I sat outside in the sunshine, and just took in a few breaths. I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. I took my 5 minutes and I'm going inside and I'm like, okay, come on, grace angels, come on, shift me, because I'm about ready to go crazy. Well, anyway, I didn't go crazy, and I apologize. I actually apologized to everybody and said, I'm so sorry I brought such a bad vibe here. I woke up to a horrible morning and blah, blah, blah. But my point is, what do you do? What do you do when you feel powerless? I get perfectionist. I get very perfectionistic. I get very rigid, short. This is one version of my powerlessness. I get entitled. Oh yes, my victim comes online. I get demanding. I get, oh my God, so just put it out here. I get bitchy. Like the bitch archetype in me are hanging around when I feel powerless. And this, especially like this morning. So I want you to think about something during the holiday season that said, what do you do when you feel powerless? What comes online in you to manage that? Now, situation to situation, it could be different, because when I feel powerless is, in some instances, it's not the bitch that comes online. It's my mystic. It's my mystic that says, surrender. And eventually my mystic got in the door, today. Enough for me to take responsibility for my bad vibe and being such a dick, at the vet. But what do you do? And this is a good exercise in compassion, because a lot of what you're seeing with people right now in terms of how they're treating each other and how any sense of decency seems to have evaporated in 2020. I think a big part of that is because this has been such a year where almost everyone has felt powerless in some way. Like freaked out, pandemic, on the move, powerless. So what comes online in you when you feel powerless? Just something to consider. And also what comes online for other people. When you see people being rude, when you see people being dicks, assholes, when you see people doing a lot of what you see now, what I want you to just realize might be true is that this is how they handle their powerlessness. We all have a way of handling our powerlessness, and it's diverse. It's diverse. Like, it's not always through some shadow archetype or shadow behavior or shadow way of relating to people. Sometimes it's through the light too. But during the holidays, this is a great time for you to take a step back and watch how you handle powerlessness. How are you handling the fact that maybe you cannot see your family this holiday? How are you handling the fact that maybe you just lost all your money, that you don't have a job, that you can't even go find one because we can't go anywhere? What part of you is taking the reins of that? And I don't bring that question up to make it right or wrong. I bring it up to say, listen, this is where we get to bring some grace. It's been a crappy year. So that said, this year, I think our feelings of powerlessness during the holiday season are going to be like times 10. You know, whether it's I'm powerless to get the stuff I ordered online here because the mail system is so clogged and backed up, it's going to take till January and it won't even make it for Christmas. Or my family can't come and what am I going to do? And I'm going to be alone. Or where are you feeling powerlessness in your life? How do you handle it? What comes online in you to handle it? And if it's a dark option, something dark comes online to handle your powerlessness, like your perfectionist or your bitch or your victim, your shadow victim, and all of its entitlement and shoulds and shouldn'ts. And well, are there other options, things that could come online to handle that for you? What would that look like? What would it look like to make a mystical pivot like I did today? Well, I'll tell you, for me, what it looked like was just being okay with the fact that I was a bitch this morning. And it's just what's true. And I didn't beat myself up too much about it. I just went, well, it's how I feel. Straight up. And giving myself the space to be okay with my experience and what was happening is what then allowed me to shift to more of a mystical, graceful, hey guys, I'm sorry for my energy. Thank you for taking care of my dog. Thank you so much. Which is how I left it. So I want you to realize this holiday season that you're going to see these things magnified if you don't already. And I want you to dwell in this question. Where do I have power and where don't I? What can I do in the areas of my life where I just don't have power? I don't have the power to fix a pandemic. I don't have the power to fix the fact that, you know, a lot of the people I know have COVID. I don't have the power to fix that. Maybe one of my friends or family members died of COVID or whatever it is. How can you be with these truths in a way that empowers you? So it takes this divine paradox of realizing that in powerlessness, we're empowered in accepting our powerlessness first. And then we can be shown where we can have power. And sometimes this is just what's true. There are areas of life where we will never have power, or maybe not today, or maybe not tomorrow. Can that be okay with you? Can it be okay with you that during this holiday season, you're going to go in and out of power and powerlessness dynamics? Can it be okay with you that others will too? That their system will freak out and handle powerlessness in a negative way because it's all they know. And that's what the culture's offered them actually as an option. You know, you don't like feeling powerlessness in a pandemic. Well, then let's stake our claim and fight this idea of wearing masks. Instead of, let's really deal with what I'm really feeling here. I'm feeling freaked out. I'm feeling powerless. And so, you know, can I accept that? Can I be with that? So in your own journey through the holiday season and with your family members and other people. I think everyone's in an orb of this for sure. Power and powerlessness, power and powerlessness. What does it take to make that mystical pivot from the dark way of handling powerlessness to the light? Well, you got to accept the fact that you feel powerless and that maybe you really are powerless. And let it be okay in as much as you can. And then take inventory of where you do have power. Where do you have power? Own that. And give people a little bit of extra room this year to be messy human beings that freak out because they feel powerless, including yourself, by the way, obviously. So understanding where you have power and where you don't can be helpful. Let me apply this to one more angle, if you don't mind. Let's say you've got, you're back in it with your folks or a family member, and they're throwing their stuff at you as usual through the same archetypal dynamics and roles as usual. But yeah, it is times 10 this year because we are in a pandemic and we're in a collapsed economy, and we've got all these other stressors and crazies going on. So as you have a family member coming at you, or a friend, or anybody, maybe someone in a grocery store, I don't know, coming at you with their fists raised and their powerlessness raging. Do you have power to stop that? Do you have the power to have someone respond differently to you? No, you do not. You don't have the power to control anyone's process. You don't have the power to control anyone's choices. You don't have the power to control anyone's behavior. Am I clearing some stuff up for you for the holiday season? Knowing that and reminding yourself of that, these fundamental truths, can point you to where you do have power. So if someone's coming at you with bad juju and all their shadow archetypes raging and ready to shadow dance, you have the power to not take the invite. You have the power to say, hey, listen, I'm going to send you light. This whole holiday season can't do the shadow dancing. Send you a soul prayer. I won't be home for the holidays. It's going to be too crazy up in there. Plus there's COVID. Soul prayer. End of story. Not negotiable, not debatable. I'm not debating power and powerlessness with you. No. You have that power if you want it. So remember, you can't control people. You can't control their responses. You can't control what their systems do. You can't control if they're like in a psychic virus, and believe a certain way about a certain thing. You don't have power there. Knowing that can clean some shit up. It can clean up. Think about everything that's going to clean up for you. All right, I don't have to go manage you. I don't have to manage your experience of my truth and my boundaries. Because I don't have power to do it anyway. What was I thinking? Oh, wow, now I got more energy in the bank to do what I can do. So I'm talking about. So keep that in mind. I think those are really, really important. So embracing the gifts of powerlessness and leaning into where you have power. I think that's super important. Let me see if there's anything else I want to tell you about the holidays, but I think that's really a main vein. If you can really stay true and clear. And by the way, once again, in my Your Intuitive Edge premium membership, I did a whole entire a mini masterclass on that. So come join the membership. Come on. Resist falling into old roles with family members. Talked about that. Deactivating a charged situation. One of the things you can do here when situations start to get charged is own your power to be a conduit of grace. Own your power to be a conduit of grace. If you're seeing a family situation beginning to blow up, if you're seeing tribal warfare getting ready to go down, if you're seeing somebody just in a power and powerlessness mix up in themselves, and it's doing a number on them, bring some grace. Whether that's kind words, whether that's a prayer, whether that's just sending them light, offering them, some measured sense of kindness. Own your, and I said this in my masterclass to all my empathic souls. I said, listen, in the mix up of how sensitive we are as empathic souls and how we can forget our power because we're so sensitive, we're so used to being overwhelmed by the energies around us because we feel them. We can pull an energetic field for a whole group into our system. Because of that, and because we haven't had a psychology that showed us how to be what I call a love rebel, we can fall into this misperception that we have no power. When the truth is, if you're an empathic soul, you are one of the most powerful conduits of energy on the planet. You channel energies all the time. The challenge is you mostly do it through victim consciousness and through your victimized sense of being an empath. Instead of going, wait a minute, I'm plugging into a light grid. I'm plugging into a prayer bank. I'm sending, I can send, oh yeah, I send energy all the time. I get energy all the time. Well, then let me send some light. Own your capacity to be a conduit of grace. Send light. And that doesn't always look like you imaging and just saying a prayer. Sometimes that looks like you going out and helping a food bank, or you making sure you check on your neighbor, or you offer someone just some insight that you feel inspired to give them. Sending light, bring it to the gritty ground level. Sending light could be getting on Facebook Live for an hour on Friday. So I hope this helps you all with the Oholiday season. I really do. It's a challenging thing. Now, let's talk a little bit about how you can enjoy. Yes, I mean it. Enjoy the Oholiday season. You want to enjoy the Oholiday season? Well, first of all, go enjoy 40% off my whole entire website. That's a great way to begin. All my courses, except for the membership, are on sale. So that might be something to consider. Oh, man. Well, I think part of the paths to joy is embracing power and powerlessness. When we get clear on where we don't have power, it opens up a whole new space in ourselves to rest in presence, to rest in what's true about our lives. And also, I think, to be intuitively guided. So if you're wondering, how can I actually enjoy the Oholidays 2020? I think it's found in appreciating a few things. First of all, let me just put some truths on the map. You were born for a reason, a divine reason, reasons. You belong here. You decide, your soul took this adventure on at this time in co-creation. And here you are. You're here. We're here. How cool is that? Not always easy, absolutely true, but how cool is that? There's a plan for your life. There's a plan for all of us. Everything that's working itself out karmically right now is just that. It's working itself out. So dark nights don't last forever. The dawn does come. And then we greet it with new eyes, and we're not the same. You're transforming right now. I think there's a lot of joy in that. You're not in this alone. We're all in this together. And it's okay to need each other. We're needy. We need to be needy. And there can be some joy in being needy. Just, you need people. I think that, if anything, what the pandemic taught me, amongst many things, and you guys know I did this massive online event for it. So I talked about all the things that I intuitively was picking up about it and all the karma behind it in that event. But if I could sum it all up simply, this this pandemic and everything we're going through taught me how much I need you, how much I need others, and that being needy is actually a good thing. I can't wait to just be around people again and interact again. And there's joy in kind of almost feeling that longing that I didn't even really feel as acutely before. So feel your longings. Your longings to me are these sort of soulful magnets. They're just trying to pull things to you, to your soul, and you to them that are destined. Not coming from wounded ego chasing value, but rather destined for nourishment and connection. And, I think there's joy in appreciating our humanness, our vulnerability, and the messiness that makes us who we are. There's joy in celebrating. We're flawsome. We're flawed and awesome. Both are true, both and. See if you can't find some joy in the both and. I'm still going to be working on finding joy in today after the morning I had, but, and I've already found it. I think if there's anything, find some joy in the simplicity of things. I think this is a call to simplicity, the basics, being kind, being generous, being present, appreciating the miracles around us. I mean, look at this. I have a smartphone. How crazy I have a computer in my hand. Just take a minute and appreciate some things that, I'm from the 70s. I'm a child of the 70s. Who would have thought? I think there's a lot of pivots here, and it's not to deny by any stretch of the imagination the challenges we're going through and how we really feel about those. Those are also in the room, and they need to be in the room. But it is to say, wow, life is still worth it. We're all still worth it. So where you can find joy, I don't think you can force joy. I don't think you can positively affirm joy into being. I had this positive psychology approach where you deny, your darker realities and just focus on positivism. I don't think it works. I think it's actually damaging to your psychic system, frankly. But what does work is to let all of it be here. Yes, this sucks. Yes, I feel powerless. And wow, I'm alive. Wow, look at all the things that my soul is experiencing in this life right now. And another thing to consider, and this sort of fits in with probably some conventional wisdom you've heard around connecting to joy, but let me give you the technical breakdown. A lot of times when you're despairing and you're feeling shitty and life is challenging, you're going to hear people say, well, go do something for someone else. And I'm sure if you're like me, you've heard that and you want to turn around to the person saying that and say, how about you just go F yourself? Because it's really, I can barely get out of bed. I'm so depressed. I'm exhausted, whatever it is. And now you want me to go do some service. Well, if that's how you really feel, do you feel what's true for you. But let me tell you something about that. There is a hidden mystical truth in there. And what it is this. When we do start to feel like we're collapsing in to a dark tunnel or a dark spot or a dark emotion, what comes with that often is a separating out from holism in ourselves. We forget we are interconnected to everything. We forget that we're part of this holographic psychic web of creation. We forget that grace is one soul prayer away. And in forgetting that, it sort of feeds in on itself and we darken even more. Things get darker. When we make a move to go do some selfless service for someone else, even if we feel like crap, what we've actually technically done is we've opened back up to the holographic mystical field of life and said, okay, I'm here. I'm in a dark spot. It's not, check this out. It's technically speaking, the service you do, whether it's helping out at a soup kitchen or helping a neighbor or I don't know, Christmas caroling or whatever it is you do is part of that. Like, I'm going to go do something for someone else so I feel better. The service, what it does is it plugs you back into the holographic grace grid of life. It takes you out of the collapse in to the darker, illusory, disconnected corner that you're heading toward. And it reverses course back out to this bigger field of miracles. And so you get back into that bigger field of miracles, and now it's able to shoot energy into your system without obstruction because you're no longer walling it off through your victim mentality or your collapse down into the dark emotion or whatever it is. You've reversed it. You've opened again, and it can get in. So if you want to find joy, you might want to try that out. You might want to just say, I got to go connect to the joy grid. I got to reverse this collapse. And it seems counterintuitive because the last thing we feel like doing when we're despairing or feeling dark in whatever way we are, anxiety, depression, whatever, worry, last thing we feel like doing is going out and doing something for someone else because we're barely hanging on for ourselves. But this is divine paradox. You go out there, you plug in to this magic. Now, this is true. I know this is true. How many times have you pushed through that resistance and you did go out there and do something, even though you didn't really want to, and you know what? You felt better. You felt better within an hour. Did it cure your life and turn everything around? Maybe not, probably not. But you felt better. So if you want to explore some joy, first, I'm always an advocate, and you know me. You got to be with everything. You got to be with, in as much as you can. You got to be with the truth of your own experience. Don't deny you feel like crap. Don't deny you're feeling what you feel. It's already in the room. You're not doing yourself any favors by positive thinking away what's really happening with your system. But what you can also do, the both and here is, and I can call a friend. I can connect to some group energy. I can tell someone, hey, I'm in a dark, I'm collapsing in, man. I'm the star collapsing into the black hole right now. I need to get my nuclear fusion, my star quality back. Can we hang? Can we talk? Do it. Push through that resistance. And then push through also that I can't do that because now they're going to see how flawed I really am, and I'm supposed to always be shiny and happy and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no. I don't know what you're thinking. Everyone knows you're flawsome. Word is out. They know you messed up. So you think that you're putting out this thing like you got it all together. Oh, they all know you're falling apart. So I mean, just own it and reach out and connect. I think you can find some joy there. And I think just slowing down, appreciating it all. Appreciate your dark moments. Appreciate the darkness and the light. It's all part of it. And that's what I would just have you explore and experiment with. Okay, Robert, do you think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because of misunderstanding of words like joy? We have huge expectations around that word. Yeah. Christine, great question. Did I tell you how awesome that question looks up there? Yeah, I really do. I think that we have a lot of, I have a course that you might want another one you might want to check out for the new year. It's called Ascension. And it's about creating goals. So to your point, Christine, I'm going to answer your question through this because I was just redoing the copy for it last night on my website. And I was thinking about this, like the word goals, right? Setting goals, attaining goals, and how we think about goals. We have such misinformed ideas around things like joy, goal setting, especially in self-help and spirituality. There are so many buzzwords and words that circulate out there, like the word highest potential, best life, living your best life, which has always irritated me, is it positions it as if there's a lesser life that you've been living. And it starts to put things in this hierarchical structure of good, better, best, right? And if you think about this, and it's kind of riffing around here with Christine's question, this is in the same territory of your question. Like, if I'm living my best life, then what was I living 5 minutes ago? Was that just not cutting it? Was that life just not worthy? And I think there's something to be said about, for example, living optimal potential, like living in more presence and more of a nourishing sense of vitality and connection. Yeah, okay. But when we load joy with all this, really what is unattainable magic and juice for our lives, then we feel less than when we don't feel joy. And to me, joy, for example, if I were to define it, it's like the word grace. Can you make yourself feel joy? Can you make grace happen? No. These are mystical forces, and you can't force them. What you can do is live in a way where they activate, where they flow through you. And if they don't activate or flow through you, it doesn't mean you're not worthy, or that your life is less than, or you're living the lesser life. It means you're human. So we get aspirational with these words, and we start to create these myths around them, whether it's best life or joy. And then we miss out on, I think, what the real joy is. And that is just being here now with ourselves unconditionally and not abandoning ourselves no matter what. If you can pull that off day to day, you're going to have an engaged, nourishing, connected, intuitively guided life. And even if you don't have that life, you're still enough. This is about just being. So, kind of what I was saying earlier, if you want joy, just be. Just be. And maybe not define it as some ecstatic state where you're just beaming with smiles. There can be joy in deep grief. That grief reminds you how much you love something that you lost or someone. And that, I think, can be just as joyful as winning the lottery or having your family over for the holidays or, whatever. So I like that. I like that. And speaking of which, back to goal setting, this idea of setting goals and what it takes to set goals. And that's why I did a course on it that you can go check out called Ascension. Setting goals, for example, it's like climbing a mountain to me. It's an archetypal process of 6 stages of mountain climbing. It's not just stay committed, keep going. You can do it. If you dream it, it can happen. If you think it, it's meant for you. The stuff we keep hearing. And frankly, folks, can I just say it's bullshit? I think a lot of things that aren't meant for me. I mean, come on. I think every day, I've probably done about 30 already today, and I know they ain't meant for me. I've dreamed a lot of things that I can't do. Just what's true. So I love your question, Christine, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to test out that feature on my new software. Anyway, hey everyone, happy Oholidays. I hope you enjoyed this. This was fun. And the Oholiday sale is kicked off, 40% off my entire website with the exception of my Your Intuitive Edge Premium membership. That membership, the doors are open. They do close at the end of the year. And if you want to join on the annual subscription, you only get that opportunity once a year, which is now. So I would really encourage you, though, if you're looking for some material to kind of dig into and really get some footing in, right now, especially during the holiday season, the Empathic Soul and Love Rebel 1.0, if you haven't taken that, get in it. Trust. It'll rock your world. It'll help you so much with what is going on with your life now. And also it is going to absolutely completely reframe and restructure your whole entire concept of your life's journey. I promise. So just like I said, go read the descriptions. I always feel like, hey, if a course isn't meant for you, you're going to read the description and you're just not going to feel it. That it's just what's true. Not all courses are meant for everybody, but go read it. The Empathic Soul and Love Rebel 1.0 on my website. And if you took 1.0, 2.0 is in the house. We're going to part 3 already this coming weekend. So get in. Both those courses, those doors will close actually at the end of the year and won't be open until 2021, summer 2021. Lots of love to you all. This was fun. All right, everybody. This was super fun. Thanks for being here and checking it out. And I'll see you next week. All right. Have a great weekend and love yourself no matter what. You're enough. You are enough. And I'll see you next time.